briefly. Sorry.
No problem. I mean,
Okay.
take as many as you want.
Okay, you're welcome. So let's know you, where you're from, and where you're coming from.
I'm Kennii Ekundayo, an art curator. I am Nigerian and I'm calling from Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay, cool. So I'm always curious to know what people think about Lagos. What does it feel like living in Lagos?
Oh well, Lagos is a very big city. I mean, big in personality, big in reality as well. There are a lot of there are so many realities that are presented or one is met with while living in a city like Lagos. And I mean, the hustle and bustle is very real. Tenacity of the state, the resilience as well. And there's a lot of noise. I mean, I think noise noise is just a permanent it's just a permanent feature of yeah, you know. So that's the Lagos story.
Yeah. Okay, so can you remember your first visit to Lagos?
I was actually born in Lagos, although I moved a few years after I was born here to just school, and I mean that was where I spent my formative years. And still, we will visit Lagos now and then. But I think the first time I would make an actual return back to the city was in 2012, 2013.
So 2012. Oh, okay. Interesting. So 2012, before the oil subsidy crisis or after?
So, I think that would be after. I think that would be after, I guess. Just the ending of 2012.
Yeah. What can you remember? What can you remember of that year? Where can you remember what you were doing during that crisis when the entire country was shut down?
So I kept shuffling between Lagos and Ife and Jos. Ife was where I had my university studies, Obafemi Awolowo University, and so I mean I was still going back to Jos, and for the most of it I was always on the road. So I think one thing that stuck to me, you could say, as per an experience, would be the very expensive cost of transportation. It was mad. It
Yeah.
was no, it was not funny at all. So if there's anything I can remember from the time, it would be that the money that left my pocket or that came out of my pocket and my mommy's pocket.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, what did you study at Ife?
Foreign languages. My major was French, and my second language was German.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, this is getting very interesting now. So, why art?
Oh, and it's always been a part of my life. And my journey to being a curator was basically trying out different holes until I met the square hole that fit my square peg self. So I remember back in Jos, my early years in primary school and secondary school, I was doing so much writing. I mean, one very big regret I have, and which is something my mom also would share, is the fact that had it been she understood the, like everything I was doing at the time, and were able to properly document my writing, and I mean, I substantial, not per sales, but just something to present, something to look at as a foundation. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still, the reality can't be taken. I did those things, so it's still a very good part of my development, if you will. But yeah, I was writing a lot. I was reading I was reading so much that at a point I was banned from reading. Yes, I was actually banned from reading. And
That's crazy.
yeah, it was. Oh, and I mean, my reading was not streamlined to a particular genre of books. I was a wide reader. I was reading magazines. I mean, I remember being 7 years, 8 years. I was reading newspapers, and I was able to understand everything written there. Yeah, and then my mom had a shop, and she would always get me newspapers to read somehow. And then people who would come to buy stuff from her or just sit down, I mean, we sit and marvel at how a 7-year-old child was engrossed in a newspaper. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I was deep into it, and I must confess that a lot of things that I remember today, or that I'm able to reference from memory, was or are from what I read back then. That was before I was banned, because after I was banned from reading, it was a very traumatic period. I mean, every force that you can imagine was applied to ensure that I stopped reading. And yeah, it took me a while to sort of get my reading groove back. Even till date, I would confess that I still struggle to, read without fear. But I mean, as I was saying, a lot of things that I reference today are from what I read then. Which are a lot, I mean.
Yeah.
Even down to, I mean, I was reading even down to parenting books. Yeah.
It's crazy because because the question I was just about to bring up is the idea, not even question, what I'm hearing from this conscious parenting. Your mom saying if she knew, she would have maybe paid more attention to that, and that's really conscious parenting, like looking at your child and being like, oh, this child has this, how can I further this part of them, then
that she's just started now to, say like years after, and then I'm a curator, and she's seeing everything I do. And I mean, my family is very involved in my career.
yeah,
So when you see everything your child does and everything your child is up to, you now start to relate it back to
yeah,
her early
yeah,
years.
yeah,
And that gave rise to that statement.
yeah, same as me. Same as me, because I'm having the same conversation with my dad, and I'm like, how you could have allowed this and this and this exist, because my father was a creative, an all-round creative, and maybe because he didn't do well, like financially, he felt okay, education, 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 and didn't allow me take creative journey that I would have loved to take. But now I'm still here, and he's looking at it and be like, "Oh, I should have allowed you, like, embark on this journey with when all of those interests." So, question: Why do you think they try stopping you from reading? Or not even try? Why do you think they stop you from reading?
I mean, that was, I think, that was very obvious. I mean, if I am maybe doing the smallest of chores, I would be reading. Sometimes my mom would have me in her shop and I was reading. I would visit my older brother and his family, and and it was almost like you're always in the room, you're reading. Why don't you come out for family time and relate with your family and watch TV with us and talk with us? Let's chat about how we spent our day, and it was just okay. You're acting this way because of the books you read. Acting this way would probably be, when you read, your mind is open to a lot of realities, and times I remember when I was just I was how do you say that, prepubescent, or I was just venturing into teenagehood, and I mean, there are these telltale signs of that whole teenage symptom. And they would ask, what is happening to you? Why are you moody? Why is this happening? Why are you so withdrawn? And then I would say, I think it's a symptom of of early. Yes, I mean,
because you knew. You knew.
Yeah, I knew. Yes, and they didn't understand. I mean, it's almost like saying diagnosing yourself. People won't take you serious. People, especially in this part of the world, they'll be like, if you actually have this thing, you would be too engrossed in the sickness or the symptom or that problem to understand what the solution is. So when you're able to understand the solution or the root of the root cause, more like, you're taking on serious. You're like, no, you can't have a problem and such problem and know the solution immediately. Especially, I mean, how old are you? You've not seen the world. You've not had any major experiences. You're not even paying anything that would make you how do you put it? Make you have garnered that much experience to understand what it is you're saying or what it is you're doing, and when they say reading opens your mind to, I mean, you could be in Lagos State and you already know the shape of India. You already know, you already understand how the way of life of the people in the North Pole. You get it opens your mind to a lot of adventures, to a lot of experiences, and it was not something that they understood that easily. I mean, currently, I would say that a major focus in my curatorial practice is audience development, because venturing into this, into the arts, theoretical arts, if you would say, my family, was never really. They're more like they were more after the cliche careers, doctor, being a pilot even. But when it came to the arts, there was not that much experience, especially with my immediate family. And one thing I tried to do was to carry them along very gradually, sort of helping them understand why this sector, why art is important. And I mean, today my grandma who, or let me even use my grandpa, who is nearly 90, could hear about a gallery and he just hears gallery. He doesn't even know if it's the gallery you have on your phone. And then he starts to tell you his granddaughter is a curator and she works with galleries and she works in museums. And I mean, it's all of this. I'm telling you, he goes for this. So my mom is, my dad is Yoruba, and he could go for these meetings. They call it Indiogoto meetings for their age grade, right? And he's talking about gallery. Yeah, he's talking about museums. He's talking about why having a gallery in the community it would be really important. And then he calls me later on to tell me that this is what was discussed. And I remember just 4 years ago, 5 years ago, he had no idea what these entities, what the structures were about, or the actual importance of art. The closest my family has come to maybe art, if you would say, would be that my great grandfather was a rainmaker, and that sort of.
That's an art in itself.
Yeah. Yes, he can put it like that.
To draw rain whenever you feel like it's.
Yes, but they had not made the connection between certain religious practices and traditional or cultural practices, like turning it into traditional art. So it was not properly understood or contextualized. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. So my next question is why a curator? When did you finally say, okay, I'm going to become a curator? This is my entry point, and why? Why did you make that decision?
Oh, okay. The funny thing is that I never, at any point in time, sat down and said I was going to be a curator. I mean, I was very interested in the arts. That's undeniable. And a couple of months before, my first exhibition was in March 2017. My first exhibition as a curator was March 2017, and I remember that a few months before, I was having a discussion with the artist, collagist, if you will, Sylvester Aguja, and I was telling him, "Oh, I'm just trying to find an extra means to an end, like an additional means to an end," and then we talked to he. Then he was still with, I think he was still with Glow. He was still with Glow in the business sector. He had not embraced his calling as a professional. I mean, he was an artist and it was something he was just doing at the side. I mean, you can't entirely combine those two and want to break even. So, and then we talked a bit about his art, and then I mean, that was it. And then there was a relationship. He's a family friend, and I continued what I was doing. I went for an exhibition in February, and I did a bit of a review about it, just to go with pictures, and I put that up as well. And then sometime in March, very early March, I think I was out, and Sylvester called me, and then he had called my sister, trying to get to me. So my sister called me, and then she's like, "Oh, Sylvester just called her." So Sylvester just called her, and he was asking if I could be the curator for an exhibition he was trying to put together for this communications company. And when my sister said curator, I was like, I don't think I heard you well. Do you mean translator or you mean curator? My sister was like, in fact, she was even saying, she did not say curator, she was like curator. I remember so clearly. And I was like, Kai, are you sure? I mean, I asked her how many, like about 5 times, because my sister is not, until that moment, she was not entirely, about the art, and the word curator or even curate is not something she would have used
Yeah.
I'd never heard her use such word. So, and I didn't, it was just really strange hearing her. And I was like, are you sure? I mean, I can understand Sly's own, because he's an artist, and about you yourself, are you sure? And she's like, yes. I mean, it's like, okay, don't worry, I'll call him now and speak with him. I was like, okay. And then I called him, and then he just gave me a heads up about the exhibition happening later that month. And I was like, okay, we just set up a meeting. He directed me to the company itself, Verdant Seal, the communications one. He directed me to the folks, Ebere and late bride, So the two of them were in charge of putting the show together. And so I went there and I met with them, and we talked about the art. I mean, they didn't know me prior to then, so they had to be sure that I understood what I was about, and they didn't just want to bring just anybody. And we talked, and I mean, they were definitely convinced that I knew myself, and then yes, we started on it, and from there, after that exhibition, Sylvester would have more, and then we started together, and then from there I started doing working with other artists and other spaces, and it's been like that ever since. It was more like
it happened.
It happened, and honestly, I would be very direct to say that's how my life has always been. I'm a planner. I like to plan. I mean, I could sit down here and I would plan how the next 4 years would be, in every aspect, strata of my life. And funny enough, I mean, I have books. I've always had, all these notebooks, and from years ago. That's some of them I laid my hands when I went to Jos. My mom, she was able to help me keep those ones. I packed it, and I was like, oh, this one's for me. So the last time I would visit Jos, I went through them, and then I was seeing all my plans for my small books from 2008 to 2010, and then one that I made in 2010 to 2012, and there were all these plans. I think then one thing that helped in that planning and strategy, if you will, was I used to be very more church going at the time, and then one time I think it was Pastor Taria preached about writing down your vision. It's not about having a vision. It's not enough to have a vision. Write it down, and then you follow it, and that stuck to me, and I wanted another kind of content. I mean, I'm using content now, even though that was not what I had in mind at the time. So I wanted another kind of content to fill in my notebooks and the notebooks I had then. So it was I felt really happy, planning all of that. And that's how it started. So planning, and you find out that nothing went according to plans.
Yeah.
Even, studying foreign languages, that was not what I had applied and gotten an admission for. I applied for international relations and diplomacy, and got an admission in that. but for some reason I had to, change faculty. That's another story. So I had to change faculties and courses, and I remember then when they asked why foreign languages, I'll be like, I didn't choose it; it chose me, And looking back now, it's all a very big build up to what's become of my story. Yeah. So.
Definitely. It's it's very interesting,
Yeah.
Just listening to you. We met in Lagos. We had quite a long conversation, and it's interesting how you have journeyed so far. But what is interesting is also for me is how you started and where you are now. Within 2, 3 years, like this space you are now. See, listen, there are people who started their their career to be curators and whatever, gallery managers, gallery owners, and everything, and they don't even have the access you have. You have somehow found yourself in this point where older artists who are not accessible, older artists who nobody have access to. No, never mean we don't say they are not accessible. They don't do exhibitions anymore. They don't interact. You have access to these artists, So first question is, how have you developed this relationship with this older artists?
I mean, one thing I learned really early in life, really early in life, thanks to being able to develop my reading, all thanks to reading, honestly, is how to manage relationships, how, like, the value of relationships, and I've been able to, carry it on, and relationships are really important to me. So the moment I'm able to say hi, or I have the opportunity to say hello to someone of such great caliber, I tend to, make the most of it. I want to say my hello, not just like anybody's hello, but I don't want to, over push it. There is that too, and then I'm able to follow up as well. So when it comes to, I think the being conscious of relationships and understanding the value of such relationships, of such partnerships, if you will, that's also helped in my how do you put it, in my ability to work with these people. I'm a bit lost now. So if you could, if I've not answered the question,
I think,
you could repeat it, or
I think you have in a way. I'm like, how come you have developed this relationship with older artists where they easily and comfortably give you their art to represent?
Okay. Okay.
They are so comfortable working with you.
Okay. And when they say what an elder sees sitting down or even lying down, a child who climbs the
Mountain
or tallest Iroko tree would still not be able to see it.
Yeah.
And it still comes down to the human spirit. These are people who have lived, who have met different kinds of people, who have interacted with different kinds of characters, and somehow I have been able to, also make an impression. I know several people, I've heard of several people who were directed to a person, and then after that first meeting, it never really materialized. There was no further interaction. But somehow understanding that value of relationships and being able to, you know, develop my own character, and yeah, being able to develop my own character has really, really helped me. It's not really about working with them; it's being trusted.
Yeah.
It's that's really how it works.
That's the key. That's the key. That's the curiosity. Because also just moving, like moving further from that, but still on that. You see, when you meet older artists, meet older artists every day. Those unknown, some known, and one thing that is common with some of them is this very bitter, not happy with how maybe their art has been received, or maybe how where society has placed them finally, not happy with maybe not achieving the goals that they planned for themselves. You know, so many things, and you feel this bitterness that they carry. How do you navigate around that?
Um, so I really understand that it is not my place to change them or anybody. I imagine changing the views of someone who has lived for over 7 decades. You know, it's nearly impossible, because this is how they've been for this extended period of time, and yeah, you really can't do jack shit. Pardon my French. So I have come to understand that I can't change them. Instead, I sort of created an atmosphere for um, to allow um, them say how they truly feel, and I think in an earlier interview with Art Curator Grid, I was asked who the curator is or what the curator does, and I said it's not just about managing or caring for the works of art. It's not just about the art, but it is both the art and the artist. And I think one thing I have been able to notice, I'm constantly reading, I'm constantly researching. That's me. You can That's me, really. Um, and of all these things, one thing I have come to notice, it's more like a pattern, is the importance given to the work, the art, over the artist, both past and present. And I mean, it's never really, boded well with me, or bode well with me. I think it's boded, pardon my boded, it's not boded. It's never really, bode well with me. And yes, again, I'm going to go back to relationships. So developing that relationship, trying to, hear them talk about their aspirations, their unrealized projects, and even, dreams that they have not been able to, articulate. You're able to do so for them and with them. And that's been that's sort of been how how the trust has come to be.
Yeah, yeah. So, the last time we met, we would definitely have a lot to do together. But the last time we met, I was discussing with you about archiving, documentation, and so because you work with older artists, right, and you expect older people to transition from this physical place, right? One problem, at least in Nigeria, one problem that we have is when an older artist dies, their work disappears somehow. You know, either somebody from somewhere just comes and buys everything and disappears, or the family doesn't really know the worth of the works of the artist, and they just throw it away. Some people burn, whatever. How have you been thinking about building estates for these older artists that you work with? What are you looking in terms of documentation and archiving? Like, what's your mind on this?
Okay, you know, one thing I'm very grateful for is that most of the older artists that I have worked with and that I have um, relations with, they have a knack for documenting. I mean, let's talk about someone like Papa Bruce Onobakwea. He he is a master documenter. I think it's documenter or documentator, whichever one. I mean, you get it. Yeah, he's been able to you know streamline everything he's done, every
Wow.
single thing he's done, and if you're talking about the most documented artist on the continent, he's definitely one to look at. I mean, you can trace his beginning, his very beginning, till now, to
Wow.
the present day.
Wow.
Today, today is the, I mean, today is the 10th of May. Yes, to the doodle or the title over an eye that he's done today, the 10th of May. You can trace that easily, and most as well. So yes, they have this knack for documenting. One other artist I was close to, especially to the point of his death, was or would be Dr. David Deal, and yeah, um, I mean from our discussions, he had started that process of, you know, documenting his work, but it was sort of altered by from the first time he had the stroke, and then the recurrent um, debilitating illness that followed, and that really altered his what he was doing. And now he's dead. He's been dead for nearly 1 year, August 6th. And what I have been trying to do, I mean, I'm currently putting together a posthumous exhibition. We had already planned to have this exhibition, I mean, even before he died.
Yeah.
And it was one thing he was looking forward to after he would have been discharged from the hospital, but that didn't happen. So I'm going on with it and making it into a posthumous exhibition now that would celebrate his life. And yeah, it's not just going to be about the exhibition. I mean, there's a very, I'm very determined to see how best we can document his work and his legacy. That is one thing that I have on my head now. Um, and I mean, really, I think I have been very blessed to to meet and engage with these older artists who are very passionate, who are very determined, who are very focused on the documentation of their works. In fact, if there's anything that they would understand now, or at the core of their mind, sorry, yeah, at the core of their mind, it is the need to document. And if there is one qualm or one problem they have with the current generation, the present generation, it would be our carelessness in archiving, in documenting. And so for the younger, younger artists that I work with or that I have relations with, one thing I try to, you know, Sorry, hold on. Hello?
Yeah.
You can hear me. Yeah, sorry about that. One thing that I have been able to do with them or try to push closely is
So we definitely are just going to wait for her to take that call quickly.
please, I'm very sorry. I mean,
Don't be, don't be, don't be.
yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So yeah, there's one thing that I have pushed very closely with these younger artists. It's being able to document their it's been able to document their works. The need, the importance to closely, document your works.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when I see you, just watching you and paying attention to you, I asked you this question before. Are you interested in developing the new frontier of archiving of museums? Um, because, like I said, we do have a lot of older artists. We have a lot of archives. We have a lot of
Could you give me just 1 minute?
yeah,
Less than 1 minute.
definitely.
Just turn off.
Okay, welcome back.
Me clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you.
A lot of noise.
No.
Okay. All right then. So I had to change because
Yeah,
the noise was a distraction.
yeah.
We're getting more. Yeah. You are saying something.
Yeah, so I was talking about just the this was the question I asked you the last time we met. As in, are you very interested in building in collaboration with government, building, rebuilding, and restructuring our museums and really finding the works of older artists and making sure that these works are not destroyed, making sure that they are preserved and protected. And if yes, how have you started that process? Because I know that you work with some people who I know you work with. I know some people that you work with. I don't want to call names, but I know that museums are a constant topic. Archiving is a very serious area with some of the people you work with. So, what role and what are you doing currently in that direction?
Oh, okay. I should mention that there's always been I've made attempts in the past um, to get in touch with those at the helms of affairs, at the helm of affairs in the country, especially as regards the ministry or the ministries of course on the arts, and it's um, all of the attempts that I have made have failed woefully. Yeah, this is it's a very it's almost like the government is not entirely about the arts now. They are not very interested in in, in I don't know, understanding or seeing the value, the importance that the arts has to offer. What they are probably interested and what they've termed as part of the arts is hospitality and tourism.
Yeah.
Yes, that's, I think to a very good extent, you can call it that. Let's call a spade, and that's what has been done. I have visited the ministries in Abuja, you know, all of these have been my own efforts, private efforts, not with anybody, just to see if we could, you know, start conversations around how we can mend our structure, our museums,
Yeah.
our monuments, the galleries that we have, and just sort of have the government very, very involved in the process. But it's been a failure. In fact, I remember one of the top officials telling me that maybe I can go out by myself, for myself, try to create a partnership with foreign bodies like the Smithsonian, and then I bring them to Nigeria, and then I try to, you know, get them in to have that partnership or to broker such partnership with the government. I'm telling you, no jokes. And it was almost like, and I'm like, I mean, we've had people, let me use the National Museum here at Onikon.
Yeah.
We've had directors, we've had people stationed there to manage the structure for the last how many years, for decades. And one management or administration after the other, that place has, if not anything, but deteriorated. I mean, it is very sad. It is very sad. It is very, I mean, it is very sad, but it's the reality of our Nigeria.
True.
You know, and I think that this is why a lot of people are ready to, you know, privatize their own galleries and monuments and overall art experiences, because the government will just flake as usual.
Yeah.
But I mean, not unfazed. I remain unfazed about, you know, striving to create more conversations or have more conversations and dialogues with these government people and seeing what stone we can strike that would bring water.
Personally, I can't wait for us to start projects that we discuss, documenting and just having very in-depth conversation with this amazing depth of pool of artists, artists that you have, because I feel like it's important that a certain conversation is had with them now, you know. So I can't wait for Corona to be over and see what we can do between now and next year. But rounding up, I want to ask you, 10 years from now, where do you see your practice? Where do you see yourself? What are you taking from today into the future in 10 years?
I mean, my vision for 10 years from now, as regards my practice, my career, I look forward to have worked with many more artists. At the moment, I define my practice as curator of modern and contemporary African art.
Yeah.
I want to have changed that term, African art. I don't want it to just be about African art.
Okay.
And I want it to pass as many more art communities and groups as possible.
Okay.
So I mean that's for one. I am very. I mean, I am. I had a very, I would call it multicultural, multicultural background. I mean, even down to how I lived and
Yeah.
my years. I mean,
Yeah.
so I'm very used to experiencing new cultures, new people, new languages, and I'm really looking forward to it because every new artist brings it with himself or herself
Yeah.
very
Different
culture, and
different perspective. Yeah.
yes, yes, I'm always looking forward to that. I am always looking forward to that. So I'm hoping that in the next 10 years, I will definitely um, um, have worked with artists outside the African borders, across the African borders rather, and then have, I mean, I have plans to to build a gallery and yeah, a culture, not just a gallery, but an actual cultural institution. So I'm hoping by then that plan would have materialized, will be realized. So yeah.
And I can't wait to come for your gallery opening and and you say?
I said yes, I'm looking forward to it. Like inviting and
eat small chops, eat small chops, talk and drink. I'll be like, hey, you have done this. So I'm very proud of you. Very proud of how hard you work. You're very focused. Um, even though you just came in, you came in with a storm, and I'm really excited. You know about how you move and how you operate. So congratulations so far, and thank you for taking this accepting this conversation. But I'm looking forward to our next conversation, which is you and your sister. So yeah.
all right. Thank you so much.
All
It's
right.
been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Enjoyed about all of this. I'm very grateful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Same here. Bye.